keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. That is a quote by Buddha.
Welcome to Trina Talk. Trina Talk is a weekly podcast that will inspire and empower women of all ages to strive for the impossible. Your host, Trina L. Martin from TrinaMartin.com, is a motivational speaker, leader, and cyber tech expert. Every week, Trina will share wisdom gained from her life experiences and lessons learned while pursuing her goals to inspire you to achieve the next level in your life. Now, your host, Trina L. Martin.
Hello, welcome to Trina Talk. I am your host, Trina L. Martin, and this is episode 24. Our topic this week is reproduction through Oriental medicine. My guest this week is Dr. Denicia Hilton. Dr. Hilton is a Doctor of Oriental Medicine, certified in Oriental Reproductive Medicine. She is a podcast host and speaker. She loves saving uteruses and making babies as a holistic period and fertility strategist. Dr. Hilton partners with women struggling with menstrual cycle disorders and diminished fertility. She helps women to feel empowered in learning more about herself, learning what she needs, and giving herself what she needs to have a better relationship with herself and her cycle to have the healthy baby she once only dreamed about. Welcome, Dr. Hilton. Hello, Denicia. Welcome to Trina Talk.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been an awesome day so far.
Okay, great. Well, let's get right into things. This is going to be very educational for myself, but you are a holistic doctor. Can you tell us more about what you do?
Yeah. So my training is as a Doctor of Oriental Medicine and acupuncture physician. And then I specialize and got board certified in Oriental Reproductive Medicine. So all of that, like jargon and everything, just basically means that I help women with women's health issues. So gynecology, where they might have menstrual cycle problems or even fertility issues, and then also for pregnancy support. And I use acupuncture and elements of Oriental medicine, functional medicine, lifestyle, all that kind of stuff to help them with, like what it is that they're having their issues with. So they pretty much end up with having more regular cycles, not interfering with their days. And then for some that they're able to say like, oh, we're actually pregnant and yay, then here's our baby. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Okay. So what made you decide to take this career path vice just a regular OBGYN?
I fell in love with the Eastern medicine in general is built around understanding that we all have our own path that we're walking, right? And so because of that, there are certain things that our actions that we take, our past experiences, all lead up to how we're physically presenting ourselves. So my most favorite part is because, and this is where I say it's holistic, like I'm a holistic period and fertility strategist, is because it's taking those elements of your life and combining and connecting them so that we can see how it is that you've led up to what I'm seeing in the present. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't change. That's the whole point of me working with you, right? It just means that we're getting an idea, painting a picture like, okay, so something from childhood could be coming up right now, or something about what you're eating or how you're eating, or are there some nutrients that you're missing? What are some thought processes, some emotions that you're not expressing properly? And then they're all lending towards how it is that you're presenting yourself physically. So by going this route, I'm able to really explore and have fun and really take part with the women that I work with in a way that, like, I prefer a slower pace slower paced practice. And because I just have created this space where you can just be free and open, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing you. And then we're working through, okay, your life and everything. And so I felt like going this route was best for me to be able to really help somebody to see that they can position themselves for their own body to get in a place where it can heal itself. And I'm more of your guide in that whole process.
Okay. So you say you do acupuncture and some other things as far as related to the Oriental medicine,
Mm-hmm.
but it also sounds like you're kind of a bit of a therapist as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Our teachers used to tell us, and our teachers are telling us this because it's like all passed down, right? Like from the founder of our school who got it from his teacher, that it's that the Chinese medicine is in the life, right? So if you are, say for instance, you're having trouble in your relationship with your partner and you're not feeling like you can express yourself, your body is going to express itself. So in some way, shape, or form, right? And so that process of like you suppressing emotions will show up, and and I get to see like, okay, how is this showing up for her, right? Um, for some, it's in digestion. For some, it's in period cramps. It's in clotting. Like it will show itself in different ways. But really, if you're not expressing yourself, and so then now I have this space, right? Like now we get to explore. Why is it that you're not expressing yourself? Like, is it a fear that they're going to leave? But then sometimes it's even just they grew up not being heard. So she wasn't even really in a position to learn that she can express herself and that she was valued and what she had to say was valued. And so then now we get to work on that. Right. And so, so it's like, yeah, we're using the herbs, we're using everything else, but to really move her in that spot where she feels inspired and really confident in that, yes, you do have emotions, you have something that's very important and you need to express it. And let's figure out how we can express that in a healthy manner, and to kind of, walk her through that process, especially if it's something new for her. Um, and then it's going to be new for the partner too, right? So now we got to work on that um, in their response to now expressing yourself. And sometimes the stories that we tell, the stories that we write, right, that'll create our anxiety. it's, it's just that. It's stories that we write. We have no idea. That person, like, all because you didn't say anything because you were like, I don't want them to be mad. I don't want them to leave. And, but then all of a sudden you just feel like you're supported enough to express yourself in a healthy way. And before you know it, all of a sudden your partner could be like, oh, okay, cool. And so you worked yourself up and told yourself all these stories. But really now, and that's only one step, right? So then you get to explore like, where else are you not expressing yourself? And expressing yourself is a part of our wood element, because I use the 5 elements in Chinese medicine. And so you want the energy flow to continue from each element. They each serve a purpose in your life. And so when I see a lot of women that are not expressing themselves in a healthy way, or they're suppressing some emotions, that typically shows up in that wood element. And then, but you have some that'll complain. Say, for instance, they get angry during the time it's PMS. So PMS meaning premenstrual, so it's before the actual bleed, right? Most of the time, the symptoms will pop up in the last half of the cycle itself. So probably like 1 to 2 weeks prior to the bleed. But they'll report like they're just angry and they're irritable. And then I have to ask them, so tell me what happened. Like, what did you experience that you didn't really say what it was that you needed to say? Or you get the answers from them. And then it's more of a supporting her to be able to do that.
Hmm. So that's interesting. So having cramps, so that's not just hereditary or something that you say, oh, this is something I had all my life. Are you saying that more often than not, it's attributed to not expressing yourself, or is it really um, true what I've always thought that, oh, well, it's, if your mother had, heavy periods and cramps, you would have them too. Which one is it?
So I love this question because I go around, and this is why I love, being able to come on platforms such as yours, because there is a huge difference between what is a healthy menstrual cycle and what society has accepted as normal. And so people tend to misconstrue, but normal really means that they see it that much and that often that they're like, oh, this is just the norm. But it doesn't mean that it's healthy. And so from the perspective of Eastern medicine, a healthy cycle would be limited to no cramps. And it would be bright, fresh blood, like moderate flow. There's no spotting before or after or in the middle of the cycle itself. So it's seen as an uneventful process. However, what we see is the cramping, the heavy bleeding, the clotting, the fibroids, the endo, the PCOS, amenorrhea, meaning no period at all. And so because of the prevalence of those, and then also the prevalence of the complaints, it's not seen as something like something is awry within her body system. So that's where we might resort to hormonal birth control. Um, or even worse than, oh, this happens. Here's a heating pad. Here, drink some tea. And it's kind of like just swept under the rug, right? Now, you're asking if it's like, okay, is it like it's passed down, it's hereditary. Whereas I'm also saying there's a mental and emotional component to it. And the thing is that actually both of those are the same. So
Mm.
it is, in my perspective, in my eyes. So if you may have explored or learned more about your family, there might be an incidence, yes, of fibroids, or there might be an incidence of clotting and heavy bleeding, hysterectomies really early, right? But the thing is that sometimes people don't actually consider that this quote unquote heredity might actually be just things that we have, traumas that we have carried and it's been passed down. It could be like social skills that were passed down. Um, so if your mom was even in say an environment, a family environment where you hear this a lot, like you're the kid, you just listen to what I'm telling you to do, and then that's it. So you never really learned to, one, identify what it is that you liked and you didn't like, and then two, how to express that. So instead, you were just told, let me just take whatever somebody's telling me to do, and then I just do it. But meanwhile, as you're growing, you're not like, you lose your core being. You come out of alignment of your true self. Or say, for instance, it was a family that generations, you get kind of just, it all happened. Like everybody, you were told this is what our family does. Our family just does this. And so you've accepted it subconsciously as that's the pattern versus like, okay, I can actually make a conscious decision for myself and thereby change my own thought patterns and my own emotional connections and attachments. And then your own physical presentation would be different. Then there's still the aspects of, yes, nutritional components. So how is your eating the same or different than, say, your family? There's discussion about the quality of food being lower as far as nutritional content goes, and whatnot, but then also just the availability of the different types of foods that are not necessarily nutrient dense. And so it's that you're not getting these micronutrients that you would need in order for the hormones to produce, in order for the hormones to communicate to each other in a well manner. Also, in cases, especially of fertility too, egg health is diminished, endometrial lining is diminished. And so then, therefore, you might have recurring miscarriages. You might not even be able to ovulate at all. So it's like the reproductive side is just saying like, we are, you got to think basic humans. The body's saying we're under a lot of stress right now. I'm not going to be bothered by trying to reproduce. And so the menstrual cycle in and of itself can be thrown off. And then it's a matter of like, let me explore these causes. Let me not just put Band-Aids on it. Let me explore these causes. So if there were incidences of, we have, my family members, it's more of what do you identify with? Like, how are you identifying and why are you identifying? Do you just accept it because that's just what you've been told that our family just has a history of fibroids? I think your family has a history of other things. And the fibroids are a physical representation of that.
So is stress actually a cause of what you're seeing as well?
Oh, definitely. But see, then now you have people exploring like what's stress. Stress, you know what I mean? Like, and stress is subjective. It is definitely subjective and unique to you because we all are. So like, that's one of my biggest things is this is your journey. This is your path. Right. So that means that whatever you come in with is not going to be the same as what somebody else is going to come in with. Right. So that also means that your terrain, if you will, so your makeup, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies, your terrain, it can be built to be supported and will last you long time, right? Or it's going to be feeling like it's repeatedly under stress, and therefore the bodily systems are going to continue to try to deal with that stress. And as it's doing that, other systems are not able to operate or function well. For instance, digestion. So you have digestion and you have reproductive systems. They're opposite of the part of the nervous system that deals with stress. So our bodies are meant to be able to handle stress, but only for short term. But what happens is that people are putting themselves in these environments where they're constantly under stress. So now our body's new norm is that we're under stress a lot. And then now we have a bunch of issues with digestion and we have a bunch of issues with menstrual cycles and fertility. But anything can be stressful to somebody. So me simply walking across a 2-lane street can be stressful. But then to somebody else, that's easy. But what's stressful to them is jumping off a 50-foot cliff. So it's like, it's person to person and really seeing like, what is it that is stressing me? And then you have to like, I encourage everybody to just you got to sit there and be honest with yourself. And I ask questions a lot. And I even ask questions to myself. And actually what I'll do, and it works really well if you're a meditator, is that you can ask the higher self to come, like you're asking your higher self. And you can ask these questions and literally just write out the first thing or that comes. Or you can hear it sometimes. It's the first thing that comes. And it can be very quiet and faint. But that's usually your gut, like that's your intuition. And then the more you ask that question, the ego now has stepped in. And so now the ego has begun to fabricate stories. And so, but really, you have an answer of what is causing you to be uneasy or what might be causing anxiety for you. And then if you keep pushing through that, then you want to ask, why do you keep pushing through that? Like, is it something that you thought you had to do? Like, think about the things that we celebrate. We celebrate people being busy. We celebrate people being in this organization, that organization. We celebrate you putting everybody else first before yourself.
True. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's, and I hate to say, don't have stress because we all have stress, but what are some things we can do, short of limiting stress, and what are there foods or exercises or things we can do? Because I'm actually curious. So if a woman, let's say, was told all her life she could never conceive, but she started, for a lack of a better term, taking care of herself better, could that be reversed and then she ends up conceiving?
Yes. And here's the big component with that, the example you presented. She was told that she could not conceive or have children, right? And mind you, these are cases where it's not like, if it was somebody that was born without ovaries or without a uterus. So I'm thinking about those that don't have the physical pieces that need to be there. But let's say that's what she was told. Here's the big key thing about that. Now you involve what she believes in. So now you've involved an emotional attachment to that of what she believes in. And so she could have been told that, and then now has this whole thought process linked in an emotional attachment linked to that. So up until that time, like, either she has already adopted some belief systems and didn't realize it. But then let's just say that she does physically start to say she's going to incorporate some more vitamin D. She heard that helps with fertility, or I'm gonna have some more selenium. I heard that helps too. Maybe I'll take this dong quai herb because I heard that helps. And then I'm gonna reduce the amount of sugar that I'm eating, or refined white bread. I'm gonna do that too. All of those are great to a certain point. So then if she's still not successful, it's because she didn't actually really go through the mental, emotional, and the thought processes. So she could have squashed it, and then just subconsciously, she's still not in alignment with what she believes that she can do. And so sometimes it takes addressing that and bringing that to the forefront, and having her to adopt a different thought pattern. So we might think fertility, and then only thinking about a baby. But there's other elements to this, and that is that you can be pregnant with ideas and then birthing that idea. Now, I say that because when I'm talking with these women, and they might be, they come in already like, I've done this, I've done that. Like, I've seen this person. I read this blog and it said to take vitamin C, and I did that. But the thing is that when we start talking to each other, I start to see that she hasn't really come to herself. So she doesn't, and even then, when I start to invite her to come into herself and to really get to know herself and what she likes, start doing things that you feel are creative. because pregnancy, like conception, pregnancy, and birth it's all a creative process. And so, in other ways in her life, is she being creative? Are there other things where she's stagnant? And so, how can you support that? Like, sometimes it's even just saying, like, you're telling me that you actually really like to do XYZ, but you're not doing it? Well, yeah, because I got sidetracked. Like, I started doing this for my husband or my mom, this happened, or I said, okay, well that's fine. But now that we're aware that was something that you used to love to do, what can you do now to incorporate it? And so in a way, we're using that creative energy, we're activating that creative energy flow. And she's feeding into herself. And then she's allowing others to feed into her. Because another part of this, and you got to imagine like it's just anatomy, you have to be receptive. So if you're constantly focused on giving to somebody else, where are you receiving? So you've created a misalignment in the energy flow. So you're focused more on giving, and you're not receiving. So maybe you're not really receiving even the sperm. You're not receiving, and that your home being the uterus is even receptive for growth because you haven't like taken that to receive, meaning allowing others to feed into you, and then for you to most importantly be feeding into you.
That makes so much sense to me. And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking things that you're saying are some of the things that I say to people who want to set goals or talking about leadership. And it's all about mindset. Like you said, the person was told they couldn't conceive, but it's all about what you believe and how you feel. And that passes through your body.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's that's very, very interesting. And I don't think we as women, I guess, put all that kind of thought into it because we think, okay, we're a woman, we should be able to conceive. And some people can conceive easier than others. So I don't think that's because I have two children and that has never been a thought process of mine as far as my internal and mental and spiritual well-being. I just never connected all of that with the whole fertility process. So this is very interesting to me.
It's great. It's good to hear. Like, yeah, I mean, and this is, I think, like our whole conversation, our flow conversations is what I call them. I'm like, they are really important, especially as you're talking to those that are in that, the leadership role. And frankly, I believe we're all leaders. Because one of my most favorite definitions of a leader is putting one person first.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to put yourself first. And that the way that you exude your leadership, that varies person to person. But I mean, the basics of it is really to be first. Mm-hmm. And I think like we have come sometimes, this is something that I realized too, is that I feel like these pressures, especially stemming from, say, the feminist movement. So these pressures of we have to be like a man. We want the wage that they get. We want the jobs that they have. It was like, okay, let's add on to what women carry. But there's not a discussion of how do you divvy up the other roles and responsibilities that she also had. So you just added for this quote unquote equality. Whereas I see that we are by nature, we're not equal. Like there's the masculine, there's the feminine, there's the feminine that's within masculine, and then there's the masculine within feminine. So we have elements of each of those, and then we're in a position to call upon that when we need to. But when you start to really predominate in one side, that's where the body's like, hey, hold on. Like now it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And we end up with disease. I mean, like women have autoimmune disorder diagnoses way more than men do. And I really feel like it's because it's a lot of the pressure and a lot of the stress that's put on women, and that is even self-imposed and is even judged by other women. And so that's one of the things that I really encourage is this, like, is a support, right? Is a support of other women, in that if you need to take some time for yourself, take some time for yourself. It's completely okay. You don't have to be Instagram perfect, like, or Pinterest perfect, right? Like, it's that state of comparing. And in the state of comparing and trying to be like others, you have lost yourself in the way. And so
Wow.
when you can sit and be with you, and you ask me, like, what's something that you can do to sit and be with you, it can simply be to meditate 10 to 15 minutes in the morning time. And
Yeah.
like meditation simply is just monitoring the breath, being in the present, being in the empty space between thoughts. It's as simple as that. Some might need some help with the guided, to be able before they might be able to do it on their own at the drop of a hat, and that's okay. So that's why there are those that can do guided meditations. But I mean, it's simple as that can really help you to calm your nervous system, calm that excitatory side of your nervous system. And doing that allows the other components to really come and do their work, to really allow the microbiome and our bacterial systems and our digestive tract, for them to start to actually be able to produce the better bacteria that's for us than the ones that's not. Like, it's also, if you're really not comfortable with doing something, don't do it. Like, don't do it. You're going to create internal stress from forcing yourself to do it.
And I think that's a good lesson for all of us, for anything, not just for fertility purposes. And it took me a long time to get to that point,
Mm.
to just say, you know what, I don't want to do this, so I'm not. And yes, I'm going to take time for myself, because for years I felt guilty and I felt, oh, I should be doing something. I need to work. Then I had kids, and it was like, oh, let me, do this for my kids. I should be spending time with my kids. I should be doing this, and that. Now that my kids are teenagers, I am more into, okay, they're self-sufficient. Now I can take this time and sit back and, like you said, get into myself and just sit back. If I do nothing but just inhale and exhale for a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I can do. And it really makes me feel a lot better than what I did before. It helps me to release some of the stress that I may have been, holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly. And there,
Denicia.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I know you said you have a patient to see, so I was just
yeah.
trying to be considerate of the time.
Oh, I appreciate it. And there's just one thing that you said that I really feel like some moms need to hear this. And because you said that it was when your kids got older and they're more self-sufficient. And for those that have the children that are younger, you actually do have the time to take for yourself. You have to create it. So as long as you condition yourself to believe that you won't be able to do things for yourself until they are older, until they're in school, until they're in daycare, guess what? You won't be able to do it until that happens. So if you adopt a different mindset, in that I can actually do this for myself, even while they're 1 month old, then you will create that environment for you to be able to take care of yourself. And here's the kicker: because you did that, you're actually going to be in a much better state for yourself and then actually for your baby. because the more internal stressed you are, you think it's internal, but actually babies pick up on it. So sometimes moms will complain to me about breast milk production. And really, it's because she's stressed out. And there's all these stress hormones in the milk. That baby doesn't want that. So they may not be nursing as much because it changes the taste of the milk. So they're picking up on your energy. And it's like, if you can just really, really look at and create the space for yourself, involve whoever you have to in order for you to do that and not feel guilty about it, because really it's just going to help you on a day to day.
I wish I had known you when my children were small for you to tell me that I could, take time for myself and I didn't have to feel guilty about it, that I could make that time. Because now looking back, I'm thinking, yeah, I probably could have done a lot of things to make that time for myself.
But now you can help other moms do that.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to let you go without doing my questions.
What? No way. You primed me for it. I'm like, we gotta do it. What are the
okay? Because I really wanted to do them, but I was like, ooh, because I know how I feel when I go to a doctor's office and the doctor is late.
So I'm watching the clock and I'm like, all right, Denise, you just say whatever you got to say first and then move on.
Okay. Well, we're going to hurry up because the questions that's the fun part. So let's get to the questions. Okay. Who or what motivates you?
Spirit. That's the first thing that came to me. Seriously, spirit in the field of unlimited potential.
Okay. What demotivates you?
Negative Nancy's.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When was a time that something was said or done to hurt you, but it worked for your good?
Oh, when was a time? Oh gosh. Actually, when was it? Oh, somebody telling me that apparently something that I wore to a networking event, she did not approve of. And yet I was the one who landed a whole bunch of contact information. Like it was the best networking experience for me that day.
Funny.
And I was like, yeah, this is interesting coming from another woman, like judging me for clothing, but not really like celebrating anything that was done, like, business wise.
Right.
And that's an example of that whole, how are you judging other women and not building other women up?
Yes. What is your fear?
Fear of failing, like fear of can I really help this person? Like, did I really help them? Like that kind of, yeah, the big one.
Oh. Okay. Is there a time when you wish you had done something that you didn't?
Yeah, there has been. Now I'm like spacing on what are some details. Because I feel like now that I look back on it, like it all served its purpose and the timing. So maybe I really am okay with what. No, nope. There's something. And that would be like, so I was sexually assaulted, and where I thought like, oh, you know what? Like even at that moment, I actually talked to the person the next day, and it was like as if it was like completely shut down. Like I'm making no sense and everything. And I do wish that I would have actually continued in standing up for myself and not really believing what he had to say. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I did really believe like, I was told, oh, come on, like you're really blowing this out of proportion. And it was like, am I really? Like I was really, so just because of that hearing that being repeated to me makes you start to question your own feelings. And then now that's allowing, my ego to step in. But really, there have definitely been times where I thought like, okay, I'm good with this, but then I'll have a trigger and I wouldn't have even known until I would have some reaction to something, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And sure enough, it would stem back to that. And so, as something I still work on myself, especially if it starts coming up, and then I'm aware that I'm still being impacted and affected by it. But I just
Wow.
continue to, continue to work on it myself. I might use craniosacral therapy, or using herbs, definitely meditation and doing forgiveness ceremonies, like forgiveness of myself, especially, to stop beating myself up over it or feeling guilty about it. Um, and then obviously like forgiving him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Is there a time that you wish you had not done something?
I wish I had not done something. Hmm. Hmm. I can't. Now that one, I'm really coming up with a blank. And I'm sitting here like, I wish I hadn't done. No, I'm actually pretty content with it. Yeah. It may not have been the right decision, but like,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your definition of success?
Oh, my definition of success is how, how whole and a feeling of peace and well-being within yourself were you able to maintain while serving the greater humanity.
Okay. How do you recharge?
Sleeping. I love sleeping and reading. And then even going by, there's a park by where I'm at that's on the water. So I'll just go out there. Sometimes if I feel like I got to dance, I'll dance. Like I went to a dance class this past weekend. So it really varies as far as what my recharging is. And I've noticed that my recharge type is different based on where I'm at in my cycle. So it even took becoming aware of that.
Hmm. Okay. What are you awesome at?
I'm going to answer this based on what I've gotten from testimonials from people. So, apparently, I'm really awesome at listening and creating safe spaces for people to just talk. Like they just feel like they feel okay talking to me and know that I'm not judging them. And then I'm really, really great at putting pieces that were once disjointed and disconnected and actually putting them together to help, basically to help people like be able to navigate their life. And then from that space, then they can become very consciously aware and of what's happening and taking inspired action steps is what I say.
Okay. What legacy do you want to leave?
Legacy. Healthier periods. Girls and women having healthier periods, and just knowing what that means to have one. And so, like, I would say that, and then some, blessings of babies that women were told they otherwise wouldn't have had would be legacy.
Okay. So give our listeners one motivational takeaway.
Know thyself.
That's a good one.
Sit quiet and just know thyself. And once you know thyself, then you will be able to set and establish and implement those boundaries and not allow yourself to be swayed out of what is your natural alignment.
Okay. So where can the listeners connect with you?
So you can connect with me at DeniceaHilton.com. It's DENICEA Hilton, as in the hotel, .com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under the Sisters of Flow handle. That's my podcast, my period and fertility podcast.
Okay. Now, what about your practice?
So my practice, you can actually get a link at the DeniceaHilton.com and it'll say like my practice there. It's holistic reproductive health, and it's in downtown Palm Harbor in the sunshiny state of Florida.
Okay. Well, Denicia, I thank you for being here with me. Now, you need to go take care of your patient.
Yes. Thank you, Trina. Had fun.
Thank you. If you're looking for a speaker for your live event or conference, go to my website and read my bio and contact me at bit.ly/book Trina. I hope you have a great week. Until then, remember, if you change your mindset, you'll change your life. Keep striving. Success is a journey, not a destination. You can listen to Trina Talk anytime and anywhere. It's available on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spotify, and all other places that you can listen to podcasts. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you have questions for me or need inspiration on how to go to the next level, tweet me directly at Trina L. Martin.